Welcome back to the Taiwan Outlook. I'm your host, Ray Guo. In this segment, we will continue our conversation with Dr. Doris Brougham, who has been a teacher of English in Taiwan for over 60 years. Doris, let's talk about your experience in Taiwan as an English teacher. How did you get involved, start to teach English?
Well, when I moved to Taipei, I was doing radio programs.
Yes.
At that time, there was no TV yet. Mm-hmm. There was a time before television,
Yes.
1960, because
yes.
television started in 62.
Yes.
So while we were doing music and other things, I was teaching at Guoli Yishueyuan. I was teaching at the National Academy of Arts.
Yes.
And things. I was teaching music and doing many other things, doing radio, children's programs, in Mandarin too.
Yes.
And we had a radio station about 18 hours a day with Fuxing Diantai and everything. But at that time, there was a big change coming in Taiwan. It had gone from what we would say more of a farmers' agricultural society,
of course,
going into more of a, you could say, technology society and more everybody moving to factory, industrial society.
Yes.
And so there was much more need for people to use English.
Yes.
When I first came, they really didn't need English very much.
No.
Why should they learn it?
Yes.
But now foreigners were coming. They had the American, what they called the MAG, the Guantuan, the advisors, the military advisors were here. They had people from different industrial peace corps and factories and helping make fertilizer. All kinds of experts were coming to Taiwan to help Taiwan grow to what it is today.
Precisely.
But they spoke English, and the local people were not that good in English.
Yes.
So everybody said, well, you really need to teach English, especially Professor Lin Yutang.
Oh, yes.
He was one of my friends.
Yes.
And he came back from America.
Yes.
And he was opposite of me. I spent my life here, and he spent his in America. So he said, we need to work together. So he was on my radio program sometimes, and then I would read his books for him for the press when he was making records and so forth.
Exactly.
But he said, you have to have an English program. And at that time, the Chinese BCC Corporation wanted one. Everybody wanted one. Yeah. So they said, well, I think that Doris Brougham, she should be the one because she speaks very clear English. And I said, I'm not an English teacher. I'm a music teacher.
You're too modest.
You can do it. So I thought, what kind of program would be interesting? Nobody wants to say, this is a book, this is a chair. Too boring. On the radio, they go to sleep. So I thought, why not take something out of the local newspaper and get some Chinese people who are learning English and have them sit there and ask questions and make it like a classroom.
Yes.
And we'll call it Studio Classroom.
Oh,
That's how it started.
Okay. And that started back in the
1962.
Okay. And still ongoing today.
Yes.
Okay. What were some of the more memorable experiences that you had as an English teacher in Taiwan?
Well, I think that we don't just teach English. I mean, you can learn English so many ways now. You can learn it on the web, on the radio, and tapes and books. But in Studio Classroom, we try to teach ideas. And at that time, we taught people about freeways. They didn't have freeways. We taught about supermarkets. We taught about computer chips. The very first ones from Silicon Valley we brought over and put in the magazine to show people.
Yes.
So we taught people things that they need to know they didn't know. So we were not just teaching English. We were teaching culture and ideas.
Of course, yes.
And then as we developed more and more, everything new, I try to introduce it, even now. I read the latest thing. Maybe they don't know this in English, so we teach it. And I remember one thing that was very memorable. I went to a movie theater one day, I think it was in the probably 1970s or something.
Okay. All right.
And a lady came up to me and she said, oh, you are Peng Menghui. I'm so thrilled to meet you. You saved my husband's life.
In turns?
A young lady.
Okay.
Because, she said, my husband had a brain tumor and we didn't know it. And we read in Studio Classroom about these new machines that can scan. And that was the first time those came out. And then we went right away and found out where they had one. And we found out my husband had a tumor, had it taken out. And here he is with me today. And you saved his life. And she hugged me. That was so exciting.
Yes, of course. And this is a very vivid example that comes from people's everyday life, how your English class really helped them. And what were some of the things that you could give, even today, to people who are watching our program, maybe as tips for improving their proficiency in the English language?
Well, I think the biggest thing I think the biggest obstacle in learning anything is fear.
Yeah, okay.
So you have to not be afraid. Don't be afraid to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everybody knows now that the way of learning English is starts with listening.
Okay.
Number 1 is listening.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2 is speaking.
Okay.
Number 3 is probably number 3 is reading.
Reading.
Number 4 is writing.
Yes.
But when you go to school, they teach you reading and writing.
First. Yes.
And so that's not the best way.
No.
So I say listening.
Yes.
So if they listen when they're getting dressed for work, or some people's kids have grown up listening to Let's Talk, and they speak so well because they're listening, and then they can speak.
Yes.
So I always encourage people to listen, even if you don't understand.
Yes.
I had to learn Chinese that way. People talk, and finally, oh, now I understand. Listening is important.
Okay.
And then
also,
speaking.
Yes. You got to be able to overcome that fear, as you said. You got to be able to, initiate a dialogue, a conversation, try to express what's going on with your feelings, what's going through your mind and things.
Right.
So, of course, Doris, nowadays, that after 60 plus years, that you teach English through multiple media sources, DVDs, TV programs,
magazine,
magazine, yes, and also radio and things.
Mod TV, all those kind of things.
Yes. Do you sense a difference in these different choices of medium that you have, in terms of conveying the essence of your lessons to your students?
Yes, for one thing is the lessons used to be longer as far as articles in a sense.
Yes.
But now, and we had some pictures, but now we have to have shorter little tips and graphics and things because people don't want to read too much.
No.
Don't want to listen too much.
Yes.
And then we always had a big variety because if you're a doctor and you only study medical, then you can't talk about anything else. So the variety is always important.
Of course.
But I think using that people need this more. And now kids and young people, they want to always be on the computers. Good or bad, they want to do that.
Yes.
So about a year or so ago, we started a new program that's called Cyber Village.
Okay.
And you can go online, and before the movie Avatar came out, we had our own avatars.
Okay.
And you can
all
be
in
an
3D,
avatar,
yes. Okay.
right, on the web.
Okay.
And you can make your own looks and clothes, and you can go into all these places, transportation, restaurants, and do this on the web.
Okay.
And the kids can do it, grandma can do it, and dad can do it. It's simple and easy. So we started this program called Cyber Village.
Okay, that was only a few years back.
Yeah, about a year or so ago.
Okay, yeah.
And it's just beginning to get popular. It takes a while.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one way that kids who like to be on the computer.
Okay.
And there's another program that we have that's kind of, it's like a lesson because there's a lesson, there's a movie, there's a teacher and everything. But even some kids don't want to do that much. So there's another one that we're working with that kids can just play this kind of, but they can still play English. So it's called like a Village too.
Okay.
So people like to do that kind of thing.
Of course. And being Taiwan here, we're on the cutting edge of technological development, especially in the field of telecommunication. And with all these developments of new technologies coming up, maybe on a yearly or even semi-annually, every year, that how do you keep up? How does your staff keep up with it? Because with all these, as you mentioned, the different, mediums available, then people being attracted to them, then you got to, somehow adapt and develop the software, the teaching, lessons or methods, along with the hardware to try to convey, your teaching. How do you do it? I mean,
That's
do you have a
true.
team? Yes. Do you have a team that would help and monitor the kinds of developments that's available on the market?
Yes, we try to do that. Actually, because, of course, since English is my natural language as a speaker, I speed read quite a bit.
Yeah.
So every day I read all these things like CNET reports and things like that. And every time I see something fresh and new that maybe my staff doesn't know, then I mark it and copy it, and we have a supervisor's meeting, and they pass it out. And we get executive book summaries. All the new books are out. Business, management, technology. And there's a summary of the book.
Okay.
So I take the summary and go through and make another summary for my staff. That's still too big for them. And then we have a staff meetings, and we share it with them. And all our directors, and we say, now maybe you don't know this is new. And they can learn, and so then we can pass it on. And then I teach the studio classroom people that. So we keep up to date with all the technology.
So I can see, Doris, you're not only a teacher in many things, not just English, but also a truly dedicated student to new ideas, new inventions, and technologies. And also the fact is that, like I said just now, that you not only teach English to students here, but you teach them many other things over the 60 years that you've been in Taiwan. For example, you talk about music, you talk about, dances, you talk about, of course, English. How do you keep yourself going, keep that fire inside of you, that you can learn new things, then if you see somebody in Taiwan that's in need of a helping hand, that you are in the position to extend that assistance to help this person, and then you become a teacher in a different capacity. How do you do that? How do you keep the fire going?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with our inner motivation. In the first place, if you have a goal, you want to help people. It doesn't mean just to help them with money or help them build a house or something. You have to help them with what they need.
Yes.
So you see a need. Like right now when we have a disaster, a flood, or an earthquake, everybody goes to help them. They help them with what they need.
Yes.
So when you needed English, I try to help in English.
Okay.
But English itself is just like a bridge. It's not a goal.
No.
It's just a bridge to go someplace. So through English, we try to teach people what globalization and localization, how to make your projects local, and we go to conferences and things like that. And we try to help the people realize some of the things that's going on in the world, so as local people, we can be part of the lives of people from other countries, for one thing.
Yes, and truly a global citizen.
Right.
Yes. We're going to take another short break on our program. We'll be right back in 3 minutes, and we will continue our conversation with Dr. Doris Brougham. I'll see you in a little bit.